Very good afternoon and welcome to our focus today on non-government organizations. Well, non-profits are holding together the fabric of South Africa and doing the essential work to help those who desperately need it. We look at the role that NGOs play together with civil society and how they, in most aspects, inadvertently support government systems in various ways. We speak to two South African NGOs and the impact they are making in their respective sectors. Fatima Cele, the co-founder and executive director of NEMA Foundation, as well as Legacy Children's Home CEO Natalie Solomons, join me in studio now. Ladies, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Of course, as you heard in my intro, and let's start with you, Fatima, it is important what you do as non-profits, and especially in a time like this in the country where various sectors of our society need help. Fatima, just talk to us about what made you start your NGO, NEMA Foundations, and what is it about, and who exactly do you impact?
Okay, so NEMA Foundation was founded in 2017, and how it came about is that as a family, we got impacted with, I have a niece that's 19 years old who's deaf. So as a family, that was our first contact. We're come in contact with a person who is living with deafness. And obviously we went through the different emotions. There's a lot as a family that we had to learn, but also, you know, you go through your things that you want to accept and things that you don't want to accept and challenges that you face. And that resulted to me saying that then, of course, we're not the only family that would be experiencing that. And that then gave birth to NEMA Foundation for the deaf. So as an organization, we advocate for inclusion for the deaf community, areas around education and empowerment, and that's what we do. And
when we look at, you know, some of the areas that you focus in, you also specifically, especially this year, through one of your campaigns that you have annually, look at GBV within the deaf community. How serious is this in the community?
Okay, so as a country, you know that GBV is a pandemic, and in the deaf community, it's just 3 times worse because it's easy for a victim who's hearing to be able to walk into a police station and express exactly what has happened. Unfortunately, coming to the deaf community, it's not as easy. There's issues around deaf culture. There's issues around how they write English. So it's a very big challenge in the sense that the key service points that are there to support the deaf community are not fully ready. But through the workshops that we've run, I think we've brought a lot of awareness for people to start looking at implementation strategies of how the deaf community can be assisted, particularly victims of gender-based violence.
Natalie, let me turn my focus to you. So, I mean, you run one of the hardest, I would say, you know, NGOs imaginable, you know, where you basically help the most vulnerable people in our society, and those are children. You know, just talk to me about your foundation, when it started, and what exactly it is that you do.
So basically, I run an orphanage. So we have Women Empowerment Platform. Under Women Empowerment Platform, we have Legacy Children's Home and Empower Safety. That is focusing on gender-based violence. So with how I started this whole thing, I worked in social development. And working in social development, we saw all the ills that is happening. There was times that we had to volunteer our time over weekends, whether we wanted to assist communities. And there was a fund government was giving, was the relief fund. And we would go spend time in the communities. And that is where where my eyes opened up. This is more than 10 years ago, to what the ills our society is faced with. And that is how I got involved with what I'm doing today. Working, and I was doing this on the side until I decided there's no ways I can do this working and running an MPO, you know. And that is how I left my job actually to go full-time into this. It was hard in the beginning, but if you're graced with something, with running an MPO, believe me, the funds come, the resources come, and we were able to feed. Actually, in COVID, I think I fed more people in COVID ever before. Children whose lives we could impact as phenomenal. But when we work together, I was we were speaking also before we came in here. If we work together, NGOs, stakeholders have to stop working in silos. When we work together, we can overcome so much of the crisis that South Africa is faced with today.
And now one of the reasons that we wanted to, put a spotlight on the work that you do was try and get the good stories out there.
Yeah.
Because, you are at least providing some sort of assistance to those that would ordinarily not have it. Just talk to us about the kind of children that you have at your homes, and the doors that you've opened for them. What are we talking about here?
So basically, I'm going to give you one success story that just happened now at the end of the year. We had a 10-year-old girl and an 8-year-old girl, never been to school. She didn't know how to write, to read or write. And so I connected with a lot of schools in and around the area. And first time she's going to school. At the end of the year, Christelle got a report. She actually came first in a class. She came first in a grade.
Wow.
So there's a lot of success stories, how children, we took children out of very abusive situations, lolly lounges. We all know what a lolly lounge is. And these children came in so bitter. But if there's one thing I've seen with children, love will overcome everything, no matter what they're going through. And the support that we've been giving. I've got a little girl, we call her our Lulu girl. This girl was basically a baby, thrown away. She's now going for 3 years old. It's the most beautiful child you've ever seen. And for me, that is at the end game, when you see a child happy. So we've got quite a few children in our organization, but there is stuff that keeps you back, because my facility is able to hold 40 children. Right now, I've just got 10. Reason being, we have to be compliant. So you follow the processes, and the processes is what's keeping a lot of NGOs, NPOs behind.
And I want to touch on that because, for somebody like yourself who comes from the social department, you would know what those processes are.
Yeah.
So there is obviously something wrong in as far as red tape is concerned.
Yes.
I want us to park that conversation. We'll get to it in a moment. But I like what you said, Natalie, and Fatima, I want you to touch a little bit on it in terms of collaboration, how NPOs, NGOs need to work together with civil society, together with, government. We know, of course, that the deaf community is a minority in this country, but some of the things that they face, you host a number of workshops across the country, and you hear firsthand, some of the stories in the deaf community. What role then can government play in some of the stories that you are hearing, given the fact that you can't do it all?
Well, I think, Natalie's touched on it quite nicely. The fact remains, for us, for instance, we've never been funded by the Department of Social Development. We've put in our attempt for this year, but it's through the collaborations that we've stayed on. It is through that particular partnership where you have a program where you feel that, look, I know I don't have the resources, but I can reach out to Natalie to, open up her home, or I can reach out to a particular department to offer a venue to host that. So it's something that I believe that no one particular NGO can stand out and say, I've got the solution. It's got to be done by collaboration. I was just speaking to one of the ladies to say, if you look at the deaf community, majority of them come from hearing families. So when you look at the deaf community, you're not looking at a deaf person. You're looking at the entire family. And part of that family is hearing. So how do you then assist them? So without collaborations, there is no way you'll be able to do it on your own. That's just, my perspective.
Now, of course, you've spoken a little bit about funding, that being a constraint and needing the support of government. Just talk to me about what other challenges the NEMA Foundation is facing and what would you like to see happen in that space to essentially assist those that need it?
Well, I think for me, like you touched on talking about the red tape, but we are fortunate with some organization, like on our side, we were very fortunate to come in contact with the Gender-Based Violence Response Fund. They're doing amazing work when it comes to GBV. They're really finding the NPOs that have got ideas, strategies, and they've enabled us to do the national workshops across. So for me, I think looking at who are behind NPOs, sometimes it's a calling from God, but sometimes it's just, you've got that thing, and maybe, you know, your highest level of education is matric, and you then sit at that application document that is asking for things you've never come across. So the first thing that you will do is drop it, is just say, I don't even know what they're asking for. So I think the red tape, the structure needs to be re-looked at. You know, maybe if they kind of look at, put benchmarking, give us reports of how you've delivered for 3 years without funding, your strategy. So we can trust you that without the funding, you were able to deliver, and now with the funding, we can trust you that you'll be able to do it. So that's my opinion, yeah.
And Natalie, of course, just taking off from what Fatima is saying in terms of the red tape, you were obviously speaking about some of the constraints in the area. I mean, you understand, of course, you have to follow protocol, because also people need to know that you can take care of these children that you are bringing in on board. But because of the urgency of what you do, what would you like to see happen in as far as, alleviating just some of this pain in terms of having those processes, be done away quickly? I was listening, to the Gift of the Givers. They also have their own constraints in the beginning. And of course, the private sector came out in support. Even communities came out in support, which helped a lot.
Yeah, I must say, with the community that I'm working with, I've got a lot of support. I've got one sponsor, that's Studio 88, Lawrence Warner, and that man, phenomenal man. If people don't know, they're not going to do anything. So once people are made aware of the ills that we have in our communities, they're willing to assist. I never needed government funding right now, till where I am now with, I think it's 2 years we're running. And I've never needed government funding. I've got the backing of so many of the communities volunteering their time at the orphanage, doing programs. So people just need to be made aware. Because when I sat and I spoke a little bit about what is happening in the communities, his heart melted. He couldn't stop crying. He says they didn't know. So I think we need to make businesses aware, communities aware of what is happening in the communities. Then we as NGOs won't put so much strain on government as well, because there's a lot of strain happening in government as well. So we cannot put our focus and depend on government to support us right now. All right. And we need to support each other. Absolutely. As NGOs.
Ladies, let's wrap up our conversation. Just parting words from both of you. Let's start with you, Natalie. Just as we wrap up, in your statements now about awareness for people, if people want to help and reach you, where can they do that? And also, why is it important for them to help?
Oh, it's very important for us to help, because of the need that it's increasing all the time. So we need people to come on board. People can reach me on www.womenempowermentplatform.co.za or legacychildren'shome.co.za. I'm even willing to give my number. The amount of children for Christmas. Christmas, we're not going to have really a Christmas, because we're going into the community to feed and help and just give.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
Fatima, your last words?
On my side, we can be found on www.foundationnema.org. But for me, I think the reason why we believe that people should reach us, because deafness is unlike any other disability. It can happen to you at any time. There are those who are born with it, but it can also happen to you at any time. We've had people that have been born hearing, but have lost their hearing due to certain illnesses and so on. So it's unlike any other disability, and I think there's a lot of support that is needed to just bring the awareness around it.
All right, ladies, thank you so much for your time and for what you do and for coming in studio and chatting to us. Thank you so much. We appreciate that so much. All right, our focus today, NGOs and the impact they are making in their respective sectors. Our guests this afternoon, Fatima Cele, the co-founder and executive director of NEMA Foundation, as well as Legacy Children's Home CEO, Natalie Solomons.